African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of October 1st, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted defeats on formations of 2 mechanized brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Alexivka, Iskrikovshina, Kondratovka, Mezanovka, and Novaya Sek in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, defeats were inflicted on units of 2 mechanized and 1 motorized infantry brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Balagovka, Volchansk, and Grigorovka in the Kharkiv region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost up to 145 servicemen, 3 vehicles, and a 152mm D-20 gun. A material supply depot was destroyed. Units of the West Troop Group improved their position along the front line. They inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of heavy mechanized, 3 mechanized, and airmobile brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Bogoslavka, Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region, Alexandrovka, Novoselovka, Yampol, and Yatskavka in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to over 220 servicemen, 3 armored combat vehicles, and 12 cars. 2 electronic warfare stations, an air target detection radar station, and a US-made and /TPQ-50 counter-battery radar station were destroyed, as well as 6 ammunition depots. Units of the South Troop Group improved their tactical position. They inflicted defeats on formations of 3 mechanized, mountain assault, airmobile, assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Alexandro-Kalinovo, Ivanopoli, Konstantinovka, Pozino, Pleshchivka, Seversk, and Cherkaskoye in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 305 servicemen, 4 armored combat vehicles, 10 cars, and a 152mm Hyacinth B gun. 5 ammunition and fuel depots were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group have taken more advantageous lines and positions. They inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of 8 mechanized, 3 airborne assault, motorized infantry, airborne, airmobile brigades, an assault regiment of the armed forces of Ukraine, 2 Marine brigades, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Anovka, Belitskoye, Grishino, Zolotoy Kaladiz, Krasnoarmysk, Krasny Lyman, Petrovka, Rodinskoye, and Toretsk of the Donetsk People's Republic. Losses of Ukrainian armed formations amounted to more than 480 servicemen, a tank, a Kazakh armored combat vehicle, and 3 pickups. Units of the East Troop Group continued advancing deep into the enemy's defense and liberated the settlement of Verbovoe in the Dnipropetrovsk region. They inflicted defeats on formations of a mechanized brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Novogrigorovka, Novonikolivka, and Poltavka in the Zaporizhia region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost up to 315 servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, and 11 vehicles. Units of the Dnipro Troop Group inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of the heavy mechanized and mountain assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements of Primorskoye, Stepnogorsk, and Stepovoy in the Zaporizhia region. Up to 30 Ukrainian servicemen, 5 vehicles, 3 electronic warfare stations, and a warehouse of material resources were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian Armed Forces troop groups inflicted damage on energy facilities that ensured the operation of enterprises of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex, a landing craft production workshop, a long-range UAV launch site, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 134 districts. Air defense means shot down 97 airplane-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, destroyed 667 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 87,502 unmanned aerial vehicles, 631 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,314 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,592 multiple launch rocket systems, 30,095 field artillery and mortars, 43,010 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.